What's up, everybody? This is your boy Deshaun for Average Joe Sports for this weekend. Before I get to talking about the NHL lockout, because I've got a lot to say about that, just a quick recap on my predictions for the University of Washington Oregon game. Again, as we all know now, the University of Washington is ranked 23rd in the nation. Good on them. With a I wouldn't necessarily say a glorious win over Stanford, but a tough fought win over Stanford on Thursday night. And I saw a lot of things. I finally got to watch the game on Pac-12 Network, and I saw a lot of what I liked, and I saw even more of what I didn't like. Mainly what I didn't like was the fact that the offensive line is just not giving Mr. Price a whole lot of time, which, again, I can understand. Injuries will do that to you, but it's something that they're definitely going to have to work on. And the defense, again, it's getting better. It's getting there. Everyone's swarming to the ball. The real challenge in the conference, especially in our half of the conference, is right now against Oregon this weekend. Because, well, not only do they have to penetrate and get on the other side of the line of scrimmage, but they've also got to be able to stop the option. And again, like I said in my vlog, you got to punch both the running back and the quarterback in the mouth. Eventually, if you do it enough, they're going to try to play basic pocket passing quarterback stuff. And when you get to that particular point, then you're going to have them right where you want them, playing a basic pro style offensive type of game. And that's the best way to do it. Unfortunately, again, I've got this game as a loss in our half of the conference, which, I mean, it's not necessarily a loss I want to take, but again, if we're gonna lose to a number 2 team in the nation, then let's lose it to them in our conference. So go Dogs still, and I'm hopeful, but if we lose, I won't be surprised. Let's just keep their scoring down in the second half. Punch them in the mouth in the first half, make them submit so that way they don't score as much in the second half. That's the best way to deal with this team. Now, on to more important things. Well, Husky football is important, don't get me wrong. It's very important. But I want to go on to a subject that means a whole lot to me, because I love the sport of hockey. I have since I was a kid. I wouldn't say just recently went to my first NHL hockey game, but I did go to my first NHL hockey game, what was that, 2005, 2006, in the wonderful state of Tennessee, Nashville. You see, if you look over here in the back, you've got to see my Nashville Predators pennant up here. Went to go see them play 2 games back in the day. The first game was against the Phoenix Coyotes. It was it wasn't so much epic as it was a complete yawner. And then the following during that week, rather, they wound up playing the Calgary Flame. So it was great, and I had a great time. And again, it reaffirmed my love for the sport that is hockey, or as my friend Trevor likes to call it, vodka on ice, because apparently that's the only way to watch a hockey game. But anyway, I digress. Again, I'm wearing my Vancouver Canucks shirt. I'm actually a Colorado Avalanche fan originally. When they were the Montreal Canadiens, not the Canadiens. Wow, what's wrong with me? I actually meant to say the Quebec Nordiques. That's what I meant to say. Wow, it's been a long day. But when they were the Nordiques, I was a fan of theirs. That was about when I was about 10 years old. So again, I've been watching the NHL for a very, very long time, for about 20 years now. And I did go through the 92 and the 94 lockouts, but I was still kind of too young to really understand what a lockout meant, But the 2004 lockout was really the lockout that I paid the most attention to, because it took the entire season. It took the entire season away. Lord Stanley did not get to be the star of the show like he's supposed to be, in spring, early summer. And that disappointed me a great deal, but I figured, you know what? It's for a better cause. It's for the betterment of the sport and the betterment of the organization. 8 years later, we come to find out that no, it is not. We're just a bunch of spoiled babies. And that upsets me, because Gary Bettman is doing what he did in the last lockout. He's pouting because he's not getting what he wants. And the ownership is on his butt, because he's not getting what he wants, which means they are not getting what they want out of this whole deal too. I don't know the terms of the previous collective bargaining agreement. I don't care what they are, but they seemed fine to me. But if the thing for the players is if it's about player safety, then okay. Get your health care on for after you're done. Go into things, talking about concussions and things like that. If you want to do that, that's fine. But that's stuff that could be discussed during the season and not with this piss poor lockout that's going on right now. This is ridiculous. Because I blame Gary Bettman, I blame the owners, but I also blame the players on this one because really, at the end of the day, it's a service and it's a service of entertainment, and I love it. And as a fan, I'm bummed that I'm missing it because granted, I watched my WHL hockey. Go T-Birds, by the way, and junior hockey is great. But in the grand scheme, it's an inferior game in comparison to the professionals. But then again, it's supposed to be that way. I will still watch the game of hockey at a lower tiered level. But this season, if they figure out what they're supposed to do and everybody gets their heads out of their butts and says, okay, let's make this happen, I am personally boycotting the NHL for this season. And that kills me because, again, the Stanley Cup playoffs and the Stanley Cup finals are my favorite times of the year because, again, it's all about Lord Stanley. It's all about lifting up that cup with such a rich history and such a rich tradition. And I'm disappointed in the ownership and in the players that they're not going to make an attempt to get this done. Now, I know they're kind of back in talks right now, but as of recently, they said we're canceling, the first, several weeks of the season, which is stupid because really they should be really in preseason, camps and stuff right now. And they said, well, we're just going to dump this because we're not going to get anything done. As far as I know, rumor has it they probably won't get anything done until after the Winter Classic. And if that's the case, fine. I'm not going to watch the Winter Classic. I'm not going to watch the rest of the season. I'm not going to watch the Stanley Cup playoffs. I'm not going to watch the Stanley Cup finals. Will I find out who wins? Of course I will, because I watch sports on TV. However, I refuse to be a fan of this season because of the fact that everyone's acting like children. And I feel that we, as fans of, not just of hockey, but of sports, need to let the owners and the players know that, hey, also, without us, you don't make a whole lot of your money either. Because, yes, they get a lot of TV revenue money, but they also got to get butts in the seats. If there are no butts in the seats, guess what? They've got to do something to bring us back. Make us want you. Help me help you. Plain and simple. And I don't feel that we're being well represented in this particular case. Now, I know that a lot of people want to say, well, I don't blame the players because the players really do care about the fans. Bupkis. They don't care about you. They don't. They care about their money. They care about that Bugatti that they got parked out front. Some of them do have families, and they should care about their families more than they should care about us as fans. Okay? I do draw the line at families. When you got mouths to feed, you got mouths to feed. But when you have millions of dollars and you've done your money right, this should not be a problem. Plain and simple. And it seems to me that hockey players, unlike basketball players and football players and baseball players, they seem to have their money pretty right at the time where they can survive something like this. So, again, from a money standpoint, for them getting their money, I hope that they've managed their money correctly. Nobody wants to be broke, during a work stoppage. Plain and simple. But for the most part, everybody's just being a gigantic baby about it. And I, as a fan, am fed up and sick and tired of all this nonsense. This lockout stuff is completely unnecessary unless legitimately there's something that you can't agree on, whether it be 401k or health care, two things that I can get behind. But if not, let's continue to have a season. Let's continue talks. Because as a fan, I do deserve better. I do deserve a season because I love this sport. And even though the NHL is not going to happen, I've still got the WHL season. I can still watch my T-Birds. I can go to Everett and go catch a game out there, or go out to Wenatchee and catch a Wild game. That's actually in a completely different division, but same type of product. So I can still get my hockey fix, but it's not the NHL. I'm going to miss out on that, and that disappoints me. Gary Bettman, NHLPA, you should be ashamed of yourself. You've lost a fan out of me for one whole season. You've lost my money, and you've probably lost a lot of other people's money too. I hope you're proud of yourself. Okay, that's my rant. That's all. That's all I got. You know, I'm not trying to be a crybaby about it, but that's just how I feel about it. That's it for Average Joe Sports this week. Peace out.